ready to get right back into it. I'm gonna try. Let's see if we can do like every video for today, like before tomorrow, or before later on today. So I just do whatever like tomorrow because I will have all the videos out. Anyways, let's get it.
Not to shatter anyone's view of the world or anything, but the winners and losers of WWE matches are predetermined. I know, I'll give you a second to digest this information. Alright, seconds over, bozo. The man with the pencil may choose who goes over who, but on very rare occasions, the person that was supposed to be doing the job ends up getting their hand raised after winning by sheer dumb luck. I'm Adam Pachisi from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are 10 times WWE stars won matches by accident. Join us. Number 10, R-Truth on SmackDown. 2 days after Shinsuke Nakamura began his second reign as WWE United States Champion, his run with the Star-Spangled Belt came to an abrupt, unplanned end. The King of Strong Style was defending against R-Truth in what was supposed to be a routine title defense on the January 29th, 2019 edition of SmackDown. Unfortunately, wires got crossed somewhere and Truth walked away with the red, white and blue gold. Countering what looked like a go-to-sleep attempt with an inside cradle, Truth secured the win when referee Mike Chioda counted 3 due to Nakamura not getting his shoulder up in time. The two men briefly continued with their pre-arranged sequence before realizing just what had happened. Chioda expected a bunch of heat when he got back to the gorilla position backstage, but on the contrary, Vince McMahon loved how it had all unfolded and was all smiles afterwards. Rather than immediately get the belt off Truth and put it back on Shinsuke, Truth instead embarked on a 35-day reign that ended at the hands of Samoa Joe. Number 9, Mickie James on a WWE house show. Unplanned WWE title switches haven't only occurred on WWE television, of course, with belts also accidentally changing hands on house shows in the past. For example, at the Raw house show in Paris, France, during the Red Brand's 2007 WrestleMania Revenge Tour. Melina was defending her women's championship against Mickie James and Victoria in a triple threat match when Mickie hit Victoria with a Hurricane Rana for what was supposed to be a near fall. However, either Victoria forgot to kick out or Melina forgot to break up the pin attempt, or both, because the ref counted 3 and Mickie unexpectedly found herself a 3-time women's champ. There was a subsequent scramble for a solution backstage, with road agent Ricky Steamboat making the call that Mickie would drop the title back to Melina in a singles match later in the show. To cover for this in kayfabe, Melina came out and demanded a rematch since she wasn't the one who was pinned, to which the coach, who was the heelish authority figure running the show, agreed. WWE weren't going to acknowledge the title change, but Mickie, in her own words, bugged them enough that they added it to the books as the shortest women's championship reign in history. Number 8, Kaitlyn on Raw. On the August 20th, 2012 edition of Raw, a battle royal was set up to determine the number 1 contender to Layla's Divas Championship. The rushed match ended up coming down to Kaitlyn and the obvious favourite Eve as the final 2. Unfortunately for Eve, she made a right hash of a spot in the closing stretch. She was supposed to get clotheslined over the top rope and land on the ring apron, but missed her mark and crashed straight to the floor instead. This made Kaitlyn the confused and unwanted winner. Kaitlyn later recalled being terrified about what the reaction was going to be backstage and was worried that the mistake was going to cost the entire Divas division future opportunities. To her relief and bemusement, she was met by a maniacally laughing Vince McMahon, who evidently found the whole thing hilarious. Kaitlyn didn't get her title shot mined, with WWE running an angle to take her out of the match at Night of Champions and replacing her with original choice Eve, who defeated Layla to win the title for the 3rd time. Number 7, Emma on the NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 2015 pre-show. At NXT TakeOver Brooklyn in 2015, Bayley and Sasha Banks stole the show with their NXT Women's Championship match, a classic which remains one of the best women's matches in WWE history. The rest of the brand's female contingent had to settle for the pre-show. In matches taped for the next episode of NXT television, Eva Marie beat Carmella and Emma emerged victorious in a 4-way, also featuring Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch and Dana Brooke. The Australian got the win after hitting Becky with a crossbody in the corner, which was not the intended finish. Regrettably, the force of the move knocked Lynch loopy and she neglected to kick out at 2. The referee counted as if the match was a shoot, as he had been instructed to do, with Becky getting her shoulder up just a second too late. minutes. Trying to somewhat stick to the script, Charlotte hit Emma with a spear after the decision and counted her own pinfall before her and Becky locked the other two in stereo submission holds. Reports suggested that everyone involved in the match was upset backstage afterwards, especially Lynch, though there was no heat on the foursome for the mess up. Number 6, Too Cool at Judgment Day 2000. Judgment Day 2000 is one of the most enjoyable and consistent pay-per-views WWE have ever put on. From top to bottom, every match delivered something, with the opening 6-man tag between Too Cool, that's Rikishi, Scotty 2 Hotty and Grandmaster Sexay, and Edge Christian and Kurt Angle setting the pace. There was a lot going on in the match, which had plenty of crowd heat thanks to fan-friendly spots like the Worm and the Stink Face. Too Cool were the big favourites, and their victory went down very well indeed, with the fans in the arena anyway, because backstage things must have been a different story. Rikishi got the win over Edge after Grandmaster hit a hip-hop drop behind the ref's back, but Kurt ran in to break up the pin just a fraction of a second too late. As if to hammer home that this wasn't supposed to happen, everyone, particularly Rikishi, looked rather unhappy after the bell had rung. In any event, WWE quickly booked a rematch for the next night on Raw, with Team ECK getting the win they were booked to enjoy 24 hours earlier. Number 5, Sin Cara, Ezekiel Jackson and Daniel Bryan on SmackDown. A 6-man tag match from the June 17th, 2011 episode of SmackDown ended minutes earlier than scheduled when Daniel Bryan pinned Ted DiBiase Jr. following a running dropkick in the corner. Everybody looked a little confused afterwards and just sort of stood around half celebrating as the show moved swiftly on. However, the story doesn't end there, because per Cody Rhodes, who has called the bout the worst he's ever been involved in due in large part to the premature ending, Ted Jr. flew into a rage backstage and, in the heat of the moment, claimed that the referee was trying to F on him. In the American Nightmare's recollection, Vince McMahon reacted to this unusual terminology by simply putting his headset back on, turning back to his monitor, and never mentioning the botched finish again. DiBiase later claimed that Cody had fabricated the story and that he had not in fact shouted that the referee had tried to F on him. Number 4, Matt Hardy and Mark Henry on ECW. Sometimes when a finish is botched and the quote-unquote wrong person wins, there can be heat there, but it usually cools down quickly, and even if a title has changed hands, there's the understanding that this is pro wrestling, pal, and we can fix it later. Sometimes, however, there is collateral damage, something former WWE referee Wes Adams found out the hard way. Adams was the man in the middle when Mark Henry and Matt Hardy met The Miz and John Morrison in the main event of the August 12, 2008 episode of ECW on Sci-Fi. It seemed like the match was heading to Henry receiving the hot tag when Hardy hit Morrison with a second rope side effect and won the bout. Miz was supposed to break up the pin but was seemingly sleeping on the ring apron, while Jomo had been legitimately dazed by his bump and only got his shoulders up after 3. While the right team went over, it was supposed to be the dominant-looking ECW champion that got the match-winning pin. The world's strongest man nailed Miz with a stiff kick after the decision, which looked like an angry receipt, while poor Adams got let go a few days later. Number 3, Brian Kendrick in the WWE Cruiserweight Classic. The WWE Cruiserweight Classic was a tremendous tournament that provided fans with thrilling action and young wrestlers with the launching pad to kickstart their careers, not to mention opportunities for a couple of veterans to show they still had it. One vet who earned himself a second chance with his performances was Brian Kendrick, who made it to the quarterfinals. Standing in his way was Kota Ibushi, the high-flying Japanese sensation who had dropped jaws with his spectacular showing in a second-round victory over Cedric Alexander. The Golden Star was booked to beat Kendrick in a competitive 15-minute match and advance to the semis when a misunderstanding of the rules almost cost him. After taking a neckbreaker on the metal turnbuckles, Kota stayed outside of the ring for the duration of the 10 counts. The ref, who like all WWE referees had been taught to treat matches as if they were legit, counted him out and awarded the win to Kendrick. NXT General Manager William Regal quickly arrived on the scene and restarted the match under the flimsy pretense that Kendrick had used an illegal move to win. Needless to say, this was all edited off the final broadcast. Number 2, Tyson Kidd on a WWE house show. The NXT crew were represented on WWE's November 2014 tour of Europe, with the NXT title being defended on the shows. The tour started with Adrian Neville putting the belt on the line against his rival at the time, Sami Zayn, before Tyson Kidd got added to the mix for the last handful of stops on the tour. The action was good, as you would expect from 3 performers of their caliber, but the finish was a right balls up. Kid accidentally pinned Zayn, who apparently forgot to get his shoulder up. Everyone involved looked confused, while fans thought they had seen a title change when Kid's music started to play. However, the ring announcer then got on the mic and told the crowd in the SSE Hydro that Zayn had actually been eliminated. This, despite the fact that the match was announced as a standard three-way. Once they had gotten that cleared up, Neville quickly hit Kid with the red arrow and eliminated him to retain. On the next two shows in Germany, WWE booked the matches to take place under elimination rules. Number 1, Hardcore Holly at WrestleMania 2000. And we finish now with an accidental winner, an accidental title winner no less, on the grandest stage. Hardcore Holly was one of 13 participants competing in the...
I thought they were gonna show that match with John Cena and Sheamus. It's all good though. We're gonna get out of here. Get into the next